Dear students, I would like to discuss some important features, that too indeed certain basic concepts only, regarding psychoanalytic therapy. Psychoanalytic therapy or psychoanalysis, you should have been exposed to the basic concepts indeed. Moreover, in social psychology, in lifespan psychology, in personality theories, etc., definitely you should have come across psychoanalysis. And now I would like to just present certain salient features regarding psychoanalytic therapy. Of course, that is, psychoanalysis was propagated by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, an Austrian psychiatrist, basically he was a psychiatrist, and later on he just went on with his version of psychoanalysis, and he just treated his patients not by means of psychiatric techniques. He evolved his own technique. Later on he just termed it as free association. And Freud, or Sigmund Freud to be more precise, has been criticized vehemently and still is being criticized. Nobody else has been criticized like Freud. Of course, Sigmund Freud has been criticized for his views on sexuality as a filthy person, and his views on human nature, and his views on unconscious this and that. But indeed, we cannot understand Sigmund Freud from interpretations. Various interpretations pertaining to Freud, of course, are all sort of scientific explanations. We can say better that Sigmund Freud's understanding of psychoanalysis must be understood properly from his classical materials, that means classics. Of course, we can say that mostly that is Sigmund Freud or psychoanalysis cannot be covered within the stipulated time limit. It will take hours and hours, why, even days together, to cover psychoanalysis. To have a correct perspective of psychoanalysis, that too, a scientific understanding of psychoanalysis, we should go through the source materials, as I told you before, written by Freud himself. One of the fundamentals put forth by Sigmund Freud to rely upon is nothing but new introductory lectures on psychoanalysis. It has been posthumously published, that means after his death it has been published. He passed away during 1939. His duration was between 1856 and 1939. And also we can say that Sigmund Freud's another important magnum opus, the source book, also is a book of all times, of course, The Interpretation of Dreams. And one more book also has to be mentioned is The Psychopathology of Everyday Life. Of course, Sigmund Freud has to be, as I told you before, has to be understood from the scientific perspective. He introduces psychoanalysis and psychoanalytic technique. It is a treatment procedure and various terminologies. As in every science, he also introduces various terminologies. One by one, let us see the basic concepts put forth by Sigmund Freud, that is what exactly psychoanalysis means and what exactly the technique, that is application of psychoanalysis, which implies. Naturally, that whenever we just mention about Freud, again I told you before, well in advance, Freud used to mention about sexuality. Sexuality or sex. He just uses the term sexuality in the broadest connotation, not in the narrowest sense of the term, like a reproductive instinct or intercourse only, not like that. Human interpersonal relations. Actually, he uses the term in that connotation only. And also, he just introduces sexuality as a precursor of life, that is a forerunner of life. He introduced one more significant aspect of sexuality, that is, a sexual development doesn't start all of a sudden during adolescence only. Moreover, it starts from the infanthood. Alas, that is why he just has been criticized by many scholars, including not only laypersons, many scholars still, they continue to criticize him like anything. So that is why he introduced the term infantile sexuality. Even infant also does possess sexual interest, for which he introduced one term called libido. So this libido means, it's a word which roughly just resembles sexual energy or psychic energy, if you wish, you can translate into. And moreover, this libido also is known as desire. The English version of libido is desire. That is, a desire, nothing but desire, always has to be fulfilled for the existence of the human species, that's all. So for which two things come in for Freud. That is, personality always has to evolve through stages. So that is why Freud also is known as one of the stage theories. That is, he just talks about the development of personality in stages, for which he just introduces one term, what we call, that is psychosexual development. Psychosexual development of personality of the individual. So, okay. What exactly he means by the term psychosexuality or psychosexual development of the individual? That is, personality itself is always loaded with conflicts. What is personality then? So personality means that different individuals exist, and these differences are always possible only because of the uniqueness of individuals, that's all. So in that sense, everybody is considered to be, he or she is unique. That means persona means mask, that's all. We wear masks, we go on wearing masks. So why we also, that is, so we have to just wear masks, we can say, why we are supposed to wear masks. Suppose you just ask the question, means inevitably because of the culture, because of the society, because of the environment, because of the situation, or because of the context, we are supposed to wear masks. That means masks means, which one? That is roles we have to play, that's all. So that means a uniqueness. So in that sense, in that aspect, everybody is unique, okay. So but this uniqueness always must be having certain overtones or certain basic references also. So for these basic references, in one way or other, we always share certain basics among ourselves. What exactly this basic is? According to Freud, this is nothing but biological aspect, that's all. So from the biological component will arise personality. So to be more precise, from the biological creature should arise, should evolve the edifice of personality, that means social being. That means social creature has to evolve from the biological existence. That is why, so personality is always in the move, always dynamic. It is always in the flux, so to say. That means it is always ever becoming, ever evolving, but at the same time, it is always loaded with conflicts. I hope you understand it. That means personality, that is the evolution of personality of the individual, cannot be considered purely as a mere cakewalk. Not a smooth cakewalk. It is always loaded with, to be more precise, it is always loaded with conflicts. It is replete with full of conflicts. So each and every stage is always, it is loaded with conflict according to Freud. Well, then coming back to the, which one, that is the concept or the term introduced by Freud, that is psychosexual development. Why he prefers the term psychosexual development, for which he just narrates everything in detail. Succinctly put, that is a psychosexuality means, that is the impacts of, or the impacts or implications of biological component of the individual upon the psyche. Psyche means mind. That is, psychosexual means biological impacts always go on influencing the personality development of the individual psychologically. So that is the contention, firmest contention of Freud indeed. So that is why he introduced the word psychosexuality. Well, and infantile sexuality means, again I just make you to remember, that is infant, that means the baby, itself possesses a sexual interest. Again, be cautious. Sexuality, or the terminology sex, he introduced in the broadest connotation. That is very, very important. There is a vital energy for the biological survival. That is, the baby requires pleasure. So pleasure means the goal of life is always, remember, there is two principles come in again for Freud. There is a basic philosophy of understanding of life. That is, first of all, remember, that is actually speaking, the goal of life for the survival of any species is attainment of pleasure and avoidance of pain. That has been well put by so many philosophers of yesterdays. So that means that is the goal of life. I'm just again emphasis added. I just emphasize once again. That means biological existence always is meant for attainment of pleasure and avoidance of pain. Okay. What is pleasure? So pleasure means, again, not in the crudest sense of the term he introduced, that is a satisfaction or gratification of needs. So needs, first of all, there's biological needs, have to be fulfilled at any cost. So that means for the survival. Otherwise, the survival will be at stake. Survival will be questionable, naturally. So that is why, that is for the survival of any species, first of all, the suo motu of life is, that means actually that is a satisfaction, gratification of needs must be sanctioned. Okay. Remember, once again, since that is from the biological creature, that is very important here. So from the biological creature, always should evolve the social being. That means social man, social personality, social human being has to evolve only from the biological creature. That is, animal inness has to be trained. The animal inness has to be governed. The animal inness has to be tamed, taming of instincts. In that sense, we have to understand Freudian psychology. See, that is why he just speaks in the terms of pleasure principle and reality principle. So pleasure principle means, as I told you before, again, that means exactly pleasure, that is the goal of life is attainment of pleasure or gratification of needs and avoidance of pain. Okay. So this will happen through stages according to Freud. That is for our convenience only, he just talks in the terms of stages. The personality development proceeds in stages according to Freud. Again, don't try to straitjacket the personality development into stages always. For our convenience only, he talks in the terms of stages, classifies everything in stages for our convenience, that's all. But again, remember, psychological aspect of development of personality always is dynamic. That is why always it is also termed as psychoanalysis, also is termed as psychodynamics. So psychodynamics means everything is having continuity. Everything having continuity. See, that is why he just speaks in the terms of pleasure principle and reality principle. So pleasure principle means, as I told you before, again, that means exactly pleasure, that is the goal of life is attainment of pleasure or gratification of needs and avoidance of pain. Okay. So this will happen through stages according to Freud. That is for our convenience only, he just talks in the terms of stages. The personality development proceeds in stages according to Freud. Again, don't of needs and avoidance of pain. Okay. So this will happen through stages according to Freud. That is for our convenience only, he just talks in the terms of stages. The personality development proceeds in stages according to Freud. Again, don't try to straitjacket the personality development into stages always. For our convenience only, he talks in the terms of stages, classifies everything in stages for our convenience, that's all. But again, remember, psychological aspect of development of personality always is dynamic. That is why always it is also termed as psychoanalysis, also is termed as psychodynamics. So psychodynamics means everything is having continuity. Everything having continuity means that is the childhood experiences always go on influencing our personality. That is, history always prevails, that is, past always prevails over the present. And even future also is dependent on the past experiences for Freud. So that is why Freud also has been criticized as a determinist, that too biological determinist. Biological determinism means, see, critics say, for Freud, everything starts from biology and ends in biology. Not like that. It's a misinterpretation of Freud, we can say. Misunderstanding, willful, or that is unknowing understanding of Freud and Freud's system of thought and psychoanalysis and technique of psychoanalysis including. We cannot call Freud as a narrow biological determinist. Why? My contention is, see, for Freud, this biological aspect has to be trained through society or by society. So that is why he introduces another term, socialization. So socialization means that the psychosexual stages always go on evolving step by step, and this evolution always is highly dependent on how well the child is being socialized by the society. So in that angle, in that sense, from this perspective, just try to understand Freud or psychoanalysis. So that is why, don't think Freud never talks about the role of society. Freud actually starts from this angle, that's all. He starts from the individual and proceeds to the society. So that is why socialization comes in. Socialization of the child, he says. Child is the father of man, Wordsworth says. So child is the father of man means that is actually there is a past always goes on influencing our personality. That is, today's existence of mine has been well conditioned by yesterday's experiences. That means by childhood experiences. The child lives in us. He always actually is looking around the opportunities to be grasped, to be grabbed also. So in that sense, he utilizes the term, he prefers the term socialization. So then he introduces one more term, that is reality principle also. So reality principle means, roughly put, simply put, that is culture. So reality principle means culture, remember. So from the society, or according to the norms prevailing in the society, the child has to be trained. So during the course of training the child, during the course of training the infant, during the course of training the individual, so to say, so that is actually what happens is the ego develops. So three important aspects he just introduces again, classifies. There's a structures of personality or dynamics of personality. Also authors say, authors different terms or terminologies they use, that's all. But he never preferred those terminologies anyway. For our convenience, we go on introducing various terminologies, that's all, to understand Freud. See, properly speaking, let us take up the structure of personality for our convenience. Be cautious again. Don't try to straitjacket. Don't compartmentalize the personality into stages, although for our convenience, we just classify again and again. I just go on emphasizing the same aspect in different fashions, that's all. That means I have introduced, first of all, that is libido, the terminology. So libido means the broadest category, libido, according to Freud, that is energy or psychic energy, preferably it is sexual in nature. So this sexual energy goes on traveling through the body of the individual, that's all. Because the individual or the baby or the infant, if you prefer, the infant always understands first the environment only through his body. So because actually the body or the existence itself is known only through the body. So that is why this body always plays vital role in the annals of psychoanalysis.